welcome to Soccerlens TV. I'm Andy Brassel, looking back as always on best of the European action over the weekend. We're going to start in England where the title race is still really close between Manchester United, Arsenal and Chelsea. Wins for all three this weekend. Very, very close for Arsenal in what turned out to be Phil Brown's last game as Hull City manager. A really gallant way to go out, I think, because Hull played pretty well, especially when they went down to 10 men at the end of the first half when George Boateng was sent off. They stuck at the game really well and made it very, very difficult for Arsenal. But Arsenal coming through with the reborn Nicholas Bentner scoring in injury time to put pay to the Tigers' hopes. And a lot of people are taking this as a pointer that maybe Arsenal are destined for the title, taking a leaf out of the Manchester United book with their own indefatigability, scoring lots of late goals is almost a trademark of Sir Alex Ferguson's men. They made it look a lot easier this weekend. Their 3-0 win over Fulham, perhaps a reasonably predictable score, especially with Wayne Rooney in such fine form, taking his tally to 32 for the season when they finally broke through in the second half. And I think really the performances of United and Chelsea showed why, even though Arsenal have made up a lot of ground in recent weeks, it's still got to be those two that have to be the favourites. Chelsea coming out of a spell of indifferent form. Of course they had worries in the goalkeeping department. Their third choice, Ross Turnbull, between the sticks, beaten by a screamer by Scott Parker in the first half, but nevertheless the Blues coming through, and I think they showed why they have to be, if not the favourite for the title. It's certainly got to be between them and United, because even with Chelsea, without being totally at their best, they still scored 4 goals, got home quite comfortably. Didier Drogba wasn't exactly firing on all cylinders, but he scored twice. I think the way that Florent Malouda is playing at the moment, he was terrific at the weekend, is a real plus for them too. And going into a crucial spell of games, it's clear that Chelsea can get even better than they currently are, which certainly bodes pretty poorly for their title rivals. Perhaps that's the thing that's going to give them the edge over Manchester United, because so much is reliant on Wayne Rooney for them. Now, it looks like we might be getting a bit of a closer title race in the Netherlands as well. On one hand, a bit of daylight for Steve McLaren's FC Twente. They won despite going behind in the first minute in their game on Friday night. They came back to win 3-1 and moved 5 points clear at the top of the Eredivisie. They took advantage, as I thought they might, pre-weekend, of the fact that the big clash on Sunday was between Ajax and PSV. Now PSV had lost their first league game of the season last weekend, but all of a sudden they find themselves 5 points adrift, having got hammered at the Amsterdam Arena by their eternal rivals, Martin Jol's team. Incredible to think that they've gone almost 3/4 of a season without losing a game. All of a sudden they've lost 2-2, got out of the Dutch Cup to Feyenoord, and it looks like a bit of a struggle for Fred Rutten's men. They were rather unfortunate, I thought, at the Amsterdam Arena. They were the better team for long spells of the first half in what was a pretty bitty, fractious game. But nevertheless they found themselves 2-0 down at half time, and really the goal that made it 2-0 earlier, Manuelson's fantastic drive from a lovely back heel from Marco Pantelic, which set him free on the edge of the penalty area, really told PSV that it wasn't going to be their day, and from that point Ajax could exert more and more control upon the game. Now by that, Ajax have dragged themselves back into the title race. They're 6 points behind, and maybe the boot could be on the other foot for Twente next weekend. They travel to the Philipsstadion to play PSV, so maybe PSV, having got a beating off Ajax, can have the opportunity to do Ajax and themselves a favour. That they really need the 3 points in that game to get back on Twente's tails. Of course, Twente are reasonably comfortable at the moment, but they're not at all experienced in seeing out this sort of position. And of course the other factor in Holland is only the top 2 that get into the Champions League. The champions qualifying automatically for the group stage, and the second place team going into the qualifying round. So a big battle between now and the end of the season, with 7 games left to look forward to. There is no title race closer though than France, and this weekend it got even closer. Just when you thought it was as tight as it could get, there's now the top 6 separated by just 3 points. Bordeaux are still hanging on by goal difference. Laurent Blanc was happy to see them grind out a draw at Monaco on what wasn't the best pitch, really. Montpellier and Auxerre, who've come up on the blind side, Jean Fernandez's side, they're normally relegation strugglers, but they won at Bordeaux in the last midweek while Lyon were off playing in Real Madrid. So they've crept up on the blind side as well, and they've kept their third place. Marseille couldn't take advantage of the draws. They only drew at Toulouse themselves. Lyon, coming back from that great night at Madrid, they were back into another pitch battle, the derby match against St Etienne, and even though St Etienne now haven't beaten Lyon for 16 years, which is an incredible record when you consider what a dominant part of French football history they are, that they nevertheless led for quite a long time in that game until Lisandro Lopez equalised when Christophe Gaultier's men made it pretty tough for Lyon, so they could have gone joint top, and they missed that chance. And you've got to look really at Bordeaux and Lyon. Bordeaux, hopefully for them, will progress past Olympiacos, having won the away leg in the Champions League this week, and with two French teams in the quarterfinals for only the second time, maybe, since after 2004, which was when Lyon and Monaco were in the quarterfinals. Lyon went out to the eventual winners Porto that year, who of course beat Monaco in the final. They had their own tremendous run, the Principality club. You wonder if they'll be able to cope with that sort of schedule, and maybe this is a year that one of the minnows could sneak in, because Marseille, of course, still have a potentially very taxing Europa League campaign in front of them. They played a very engaging match at Benfica in Lisbon the last Thursday, and it really showed, especially in the latter stages of this game against Toulouse. So maybe Lille could be the ones to sneak in there. They managed to make up a bit of ground by sneaking past basement side Grenoble with an own goal by Bastien Cesar, giving them a 1-0 win. But nevertheless, such a tremendous midfield. They play great football, and there's so much less pressure on them that you've got to think that perhaps it's they who've got the best chance. Anyway, I'm going to answer one of your questions before I go. I've received this on Twitter. Remember, you can send your questions to me on twitter.com/Andy Brassel, or you can leave them beneath this article on the comments section. I've got one from Graham Downey in Cognac in France, and following on from what we were saying about Liga, what's up with Yoann Gourcuff? Is it just tiredness because Bordeaux don't have the squad to compete in all competitions? Well, this is a really interesting question, Graham, and of course you would expect Gourcuff as being someone who could really cope with this, because he's very much in the Kaká mould. He's a very strong, physical, 6 foot plus modern playmaker. But really, it's not just a case of the last few weeks. Gourcuff has not been the best all season, and I think perhaps to a degree he's affected by incredible expectation on him. Of course, they paid 15 million euros for him, Bordeaux, to make his transfer from Milan permanent. He became a key part of the French national team very, very quickly, and he has no senior figures in there to guide him. And that's shown up in not just his poor form, but the poor form of the whole French national team. Now, it's imperative before the World Cup that he starts to get something back together, approaching decent form. Maybe he will be able to do that if they get into the latter stages of the Champions League. He'll be able to draw a bit of confidence for that. There are plenty of options that Bordeaux have to protect him in midfield, the likes of Fernando, Enrique, but it's not really made a difference. And certainly, if he's going to be seen as one of the best midfielders in Europe, as he wants to be, he's got to pick up a bit more consistency over the next few weeks and months. Well, thanks for joining us again. Lots of great Champions League action this week. In fact, I'm off in about 5 minutes to go and see Jose Mourinho talk to his adoring followers at Stamford Bridge before the Chelsea Inter-match, which is going to be great, of course. You'll be able to catch me up later in the week on www.allornothingtv.net. I really will update it this week, I promise. And you'll be able to see me again here next Monday. So enjoy the games, and we'll see you soon.